3, 2, 1.
The following Pulpery podcast is brought to you by The Goddamn Sauce. Go to thegdsauce.com for details to order all the sauces to replace your ordinary condiments. Welcome to the Pulpery Politicscast with Brock and Ben. This podcast is where we discuss the political headlines that intrigue us and all those little jerks that enrage us.
Came out on the floor of the house.
Oh, he came out? Good for him. Good for him.
And said,
Oh.
If you don't start an inquiry to impeach Biden, we're going to hold all of this up. Me and my 8 henchmen, or however many it is. How do you?
And the important piece is, I got to come up with a good name for.
How do you get away with?
Kevin McCarthy's like, okay, we're going to launch an impeachment.
That happened like 40 minutes after Forehead got his time at the podium. How come I never see, like, someone from Kansas?
I would say, like, AOC doesn't even have that kind of power in the Democrat
That's what I'm saying. Like,
side.
I get it, it's all sound bites or whatever, but you can watch it on CNBC or C-SPAN. But I never see, and I guess they're just not batshit crazy up there giving speeches, debating. All I see are these fucking psychopaths, or like Jamie Raskins or somebody coming behind him and being like,
What the fuck is wrong?
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why are we entertaining this? But
I'm dying of cancer here, and you're fucking wasting my time with this.
That's what it's come down to. That we're like that. We got Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that states we need to separate red and blue states in a public forum. And
no. She said every state should secede because of Biden's immigration policy.
But she also at one point said we need to separate by red and blue states.
Sure, do that.
Same thing, either way.
Yeah. Have fun with that.
And I
red
think,
states that depend on the blue states for money.
A representative in Texas might have said it too, and I said the same thing. Like, you realize Texas may be the only state that can get away with it if they increase their taxes enough. But that would piss off all of the conservatives there. They might be able to get away with it.
Do you want me to get on my secession rant or not?
No, eventually. Yeah. That's why I keep bringing it up every single week.
All right.
You're
and just teasing it.
And I get federal funding for roads and all that, and they have their own power grid, blah, blah, blah. So.
For now.
Pink.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'll hold off on that.
Yeah, all it's going to take is...
Because you're going to ask me about the 14th Amendment later on. So.
Yep, and we will... That will... So
I'll save that energy.
Yeah, you should. Just save that, because we'll have fun with that. But I guess the theme here is we have, and we'll get to Tuberville in a minute, like a dozen of these hardline MAGA Republicans, I guess is what we're going to call them.
Yeah.
Controlling government, and nobody on either, like the Democrats are at this point are just willing to sit back and say, okay, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, which it hadn't happened. Yes, they can do anything at this point, sans like cutting the head off a baby, and nobody's going to care.
Well, I mean, not even talking about like OAN or Newsmax, but like, for instance, when we get back on like Tuberville, like Fox News isn't really like, I mean, maybe Brett Baer is doing it in the 6 o'clock hour, which is
who's the
usually
asshole
when
who took over for Tucker? Brian something.
No, it's even worse.
But at any rate,
Matt Waters or something like that.
want to say Walter, but Waters sounds right.
Even his mother was like, "Don't be a fucking turd," and
and he's only cranked it up because he knows that like the higher I turn the volume,
that's the same as what Tucker did,
right?
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the downfall of him, where he's just in the fucking depths of Twitter,
right? And I mean, you're talking about a network that is in a horrible conundrum, and that they've built up not only one individual but an entire movement that is
before him
now starting to go against it, and so they're desperately trying to bring them back in.
So what was it? It was Rush Limbaugh, and then Hannity, and then Tucker Carlson.
Don't forget Savage.
Oh God! Okay. Oh. And then this new cat. Like they're always, because they know that there's another middle-aged white guy who's willing to sell his soul, whether he believes it or not,
sure,
for views.
Well, but even too, you have
and I'm not saying CNN is months, any better.
Where even like Laura Ingraham, I'm not going to call her doctor because that's just an insult to doctors of all kinds, but
all doctors.
She was even debating one of Trump's acolytes and being like, no, like that's not legally possible.
Yeah, she called him out on Twitter too.
Sure. And like that's where like Fox is right now, is that they're going like, well, we can't, we have to maintain some semblance so we don't get lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit.
Exactly.
But then they realize they're losing their core demographic.
Correct.
And then, I mean, they're going to lose them anyways because eventually they're going to die.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and then there aren't enough of their children,
right? And that's why
that see them.
And I say back in the day, but it was only a few years ago. But like Shepard Smith and now Brett Baer,
yep,
they have that nice little spot between the opinion shows where they're doing their nightly news, and they can actually be like, present a couple of these stories, but they know no one's really watching. They're just doing it because that's what you're supposed to do.
Who's the old guy who did the debates?
Brett Baer.
That's his. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Is that his name, Brett Baer?
Or it's like Bear,
okay,
like it's not Bear as in.
Maybe I see it and my brain thinks something
else. The guy
else.
with he's got the Sean Hannity bangs and.
Yes, I think he wears glasses or something.
Probably at times, yeah.
Okay, I know who Shepard is. That guy's fucking.
Yeah, hi, welcome to the evening news with Shep Smith.
It's like he's like a gay reverend on. Whatever.
But it's like that's the problem with that South Carolina accent. You never know where they're going.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm looking at you, buddy. You got away with one there.
But it's like I mean the fair point here is like if we're talking about Limp Dick McCarthy.
Yeah, well, we're about to get to him in Tuberville.
So McCarthy, because he's so involved with himself. And is like the quintessential Machiavellian narcissist.
Yes.
That he will get in bed with anybody who will maintain his power. So that's why Matt Gaetz is in these positions of power, which not even Barry Goldwater would have been like, yes, let's put you in a position.
And Jim Jordan, who is ultimately going to be the one, I guess, to lead this impeachment inquiry.
Yeah, because that's who you want.
Right, just like we need Marjorie Taylor Greene asking for. Well, never mind. I'll save that because we'll get to the 14th.
The only thing that we can hope is that Biden does all of his stuff in Jim showers, because that's where Jim Jordan doesn't look.
You know what else? Jim Jordan's like John Cena. You just can't see him. No, you're not, Jim.
No,
you're responsible for a bunch of boys getting allegedly.
Well, he's part of it. He's part of it, but But he didn't see anything.
You're right. McCarthy has no spine. And now that we're calling out to vacate.
Yeah.
So what? Because he did. That's another thing that Forehead did, which is why I wanted to circle back till we got to McCarthy. What happens if they vacate? Do they go back to a vote? And does it have to be a Republican? Is a Republican then nominated?
You mean if like Gaetz is voted off of his position?
No. If they really get rid of McCarthy.
Well, yeah, because they're the House in power right now.
So they would just be able to say we're going to plop this person as now the House Speaker.
Yeah, but I mean it would probably be a longer vote than the last one because then the Freedom Caucus.
No, that's what I'm saying. Who's infighting? That's why I wanted to know what it would be the entire Republican caucus. that would have to nominate someone, or can anybody just be like, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring?
Well, anybody can throw their hat into the ring, but then they have to have a vote on it.
Okay.
And then you have to get the majority vote.
God, who jumps up? Who does that? Who?
Well, the sad part is no rational Republican would be voted for House Speaker.
No, that's what I'm saying. So which one of these nut jobs?
McCarthy's the most rational person.
But is he, or is he just more wishy-washy?
Well, again, he's trying to be the Mitch McConnell of the House.
He can't do that
without actually having the negotiating power to do so.
So he's basically frozen Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
He's Weekend at Bernie's Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, except
Mitch McConnell we've seen twice stroke out on TV.
McCarthy can still talk, and he still sounds like a D-bag on mic.
As opposed to like a carcass.
McConnell, in his best days, was at least...
Oh, he was...
Yeah, I mean, he was sharp.
I hate him, but dude...
Yeah, you got to respect the fuck out of what he did.
He fucking handled... Yeah.
Like, that's the problem with McCarthy, is that there's not even that semblance of, like... I mean, he's been in the House a long time, but everybody knows how he got to this and what he had to give up because it was so public.
I hate McConnell, but McConnell would come out with one of those turtley press conferences and shut all that shit down.
Yeah.
Like he did with the Supreme Court justices. He just went, we're not going to do that.
Right.
And everybody went, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that. Like, and I fucking hate this man.
I know.
With every fiber of my being.
But yeah, it was like, I mean, he barely had to say anything. He just had to, like, you know, flick his nose.
Yeah, it was like Carol Burnett
Yeah.
pulling her fucking earlobe to tell her kids she loved him. Like, that's all he had to do.
Yeah.
Fuck you, McCarthy.
I mean, that's what McCarthy wishes he were. But
which is why he's got people like Tuberville out there just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Well, Tuberville's part of... I'm trying to figure out why in the world... I guess that was... They thought because he was a college football coach, he wouldn't be... He would... I mean, he would...
Against the military?
Or he would just be like, just sort of a vacant person. Like, oh, we'll put him on the, you know, the military...
So he would be like Alexandro of Juventus. Got it. Like
Yeah.
an orange cone.
Right. I'm assuming that's what they thought. And then now he decides, I'm going to take this hardline stance. And then with this more, like in this past week, he's proven he doesn't even understand his position.
He does not.
In saying that, I hope Mark Milley's replacement, if he leaves, will do better. Like, he can't, because you're fucking blocking every fucking thing.
And don't give me that. He was just ribbit. No, he wasn't.
No.
He had no fucking clue.
That dude is dumb as shit.
Thank you.
That's why Rudy Giuliani butt dialed him.
So he slid it in.
Yeah.
It was like pain and pleasure. Right. So as House Speaker, McCarthy should be able to step up and be like, you need to get your committee member under fucking control.
I mean, true. So he doesn't have direct authority.
No.
But as a de facto leader of the Republican Party at this point, you could talk to McConnell and his handlers of going, hey, somebody need to figure this the fuck out.
Do something with this because he's making all of us look bad.
But as you pointed out, as we saw today, he
wants to stay in power at this point.
Well, his fucking dick blows wherever the wind's blowing. So Correct. If Matt Gaetz says, I want to do this, then he's going to do it because he thinks that's what's going to keep him in power, which...
There's only like 12 of them.
If we live in a rational world, what that's going to do is in the next election, they're going to lose the House. Now...
Yeah, and what are the Democrats going to do with that? Probably nothing.
No, but what they will do is, first and foremost, Hakeem Jeffries, Speaker of the House. No debate, nothing. First vote.
That's what it'll be?
Yeah. Because they did that like every ballot that they voted for McCarthy on, Hakeem Jeffries had all Democrat support, and we got to stop there.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so every time they do that vote.
Yeah.
We want to take this time to thank you for supporting the Pulpery Podcast. We are available on all podcast platforms, so please follow us and turn on the downloads. You can always delete them later. If audio is not your thing, we are on YouTube. Check out our page and hit the subscribe button, like our episodes, and share with all your friends. Follow us on all the socials for our latest content, and additional takes on the latest stories and news. If you need a change for your taste buds, go to thegdsauce.com and change the way you think about the way you eat. From their signature goddamn sauce to their ghost pepper sauce, they have everything you need to rethink condiments. Help support an independent business by getting rid of your same old condiments and boss up with the goddamn sauces. Yeah.
Okay, so we started here?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, good. So we discussed it earlier, 14th Amendment. We all know what it says. What the fuck is it going to take for someone to start calling this shit on several human beings in Congress?
You have to understand, 14th Amendment is what, 1868. So this is when Southern states are...
Section 3
I know,
was
yeah.
way later, right? Or was it part of the OG?
It's all part of it. So 1865 is the 13th Amendment.
Correct.
And this,
I don't know why I said that. I know you...
Well, no. So the way that I teach it is you would think with, okay, we're going to free all slaves. Everything should be status quo, right?
Exactly.
Of course not, because the southern states are gonna and then
it's like
I'm trying to do the quick version of it.
Caution hot coffee for McDonald's. It's like somebody.
So under President Johnson, he was a Tennessean, but he stayed with the Union during the Civil War. But after Lincoln dies and he's kind of more of the hey, let's make it easy. Let's not go through the hard stuff. So he just starts letting southern states back in willy-nilly, and then of course they immediately they didn't. But for example, Mississippi reelects Jefferson Davis as a senator. All of a sudden, the rest of the Congress is going, hold on,
how the fuck did this happen?
Yeah.
It's because he let him back in, and technically,
right. So
the will of the people.
2.5 years later,
unless you're a Supreme Court justice in the state of Wisconsin, then the will of the people don't matter.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Or you're a tribunal in Jackson, Mississippi. So
sorry.
But anyway, the short version is they saw that and they're like,
we need something.
What the fuck are we doing?
Right.
So they put together the 14th Amendment, which guarantees rights to anyone, no matter the color of your skin.
And that's the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And everybody glosses over that part.
And then the subsequent ones, the provisions to that are if you were involved in an insurrection. So the thing is, back then it was clear. This was an insurrection. Yeah,
you went against the government.
And you had announced, your state said you were leaving. B, you said that you were part of this foreign government. Right. So at that
foreign
point,
government would be
the Confederacy.
Your state or the Confederacy or whatever at that point. Right.
Exactly. So
now it would be MAGA, I guess.
Well, so now the problem that we face now is you have to be charged with that crime and found guilty. You can't be accused of it. So back in 1868,
it was kind of black and white.
Yeah,
right?
Everybody knew. It was very obvious. It was very clear.
Sorry,
I'm staying on point.
I know you are, but Aronson just scored a free kick. All right, go ahead. So you're right, black and white there.
Yeah.
So finish, because then I have
now,
questions.
which is, it's and I understand what different politicians, different states are doing.
Right.
Which is, but in my estimation of congressional law, which is, if Donald Trump is convicted of insurrection,
right,
which could happen in Georgia, could happen
any of that stuff
in the multiple federal cases, whether that's the federal case dealing with January 6th or the secret or the
documents.
Documents,
case.
thank you.
Correct.
that could
in Georgia.
quantify as well. Yeah.
So does that automatically trigger that?
By constitutional law, yes.
You're done.
Yeah, as if he is on paper part of not just
having
charged,
been convicted by a jury of his peers.
He is an insurrectionist. So, like for instance, if the leader of the Proud Boys wanted to run for office now, even from jail, he couldn't.
You mean
because
Enrique Torres?
Yeah, he's been found guilty of
treason. What amounts to treason?
Exactly. Yes.
Correct.
So, but you have to be convicted
formally.
Yeah.
That's the threshold.
Yeah, in my opinion of that. Now,
well, no. That makes. Thank you for explaining that, because
now
my thing is, I read it and go, why the fuck aren't any of these cunts barred from running for office?
Well, I think that's what that's the question that's open now, is if you are even suspected of it, which is again so nobody put the Confederates on trial.
No.
Nobody put Jefferson Davis on trial for crimes against the United States.
No.
But it was one of those of just like I was saying, it's like it was, you were clearly on the other side. So,
well, we've got people saying it out loud.
Right.
And I know that I think Georgia tried it with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it got struck down because it wasn't confirmed. It's just allegedly in your opinion. So it got struck down. That was the only one that I can remember in recent memory of them even trying this, other than talk.
Well, I mean, so at the basis, and this is one of the things that all Americans need to know. At the basis of all this,
that's the point,
is the American judicial system, which is you are innocent until proven guilty.
Facts.
And
you
are guilty
they say that
when a jury of your peers says yes.
And then you have an appeals process.
Sure.
I think anybody who watches Law and Order knows that, because that's in their headline.
Now, that would be the question to me, there should be, but what is the appeals process for treason?
Thank you. God damn it! I just destroyed the world.
Don't worry, the Soviet Union is still on there, so you're fine.
They are. I literally just took care of the Asian Pacific.
There you go.
We don't need them anyway. So it's all a matter of
We'll get
so basically nothing can be done until somebody is literally convicted of said crime.
Well, and so to take it back a step,
no, I've had it.
People
I've been wanting this conversation for a very long time.
I'm not gonna say like me and you were doing it, but people we know are being like, why are they doing this? Why aren't it's because you have to build a case.
Which is
even murder cases can take a year or two.
Anybody who's been privy to a documentary.
That's not a government conspiracy thing.
That's the whole.
Yeah.
You are innocent until proven guilty.
Oliver Stone presents Jim Garrison did the whole trial over a matter of a weekend. That took that dude 12 years to bring that. I was going to say,
that didn't happen in about a week and a half.
No. So the judicial, and it's that way for a purpose, is so that when you are taken to trial, it's for a reason.
And everybody has discovery and all of this, and by the time you get to a trial,
right,
everybody has their argument.
Sure.
That's it.
And so... I mean, what is fun is that we're now, if the people paying attention to current events, is that you get to see the beautiful difference between, and this is the time when if you're a liberal or you don't like Donald Trump, let's just say that.
Yeah, we'll just,
because you don't have to be a liberal to not like Donald Trump, but you get to see how federalism really works, and that you can have multiple trials going on about multiple things.
Correct.
And each has its own jurisdiction.
Correct.
And if you're the one...
State, federal, 2 federals at different locations.
And if you're like Jim Jordan saying this isn't fair and we should have one major court deciding everything that decides in our favor, that's A, not democracy, B, not federalism, and defeats a republic.
So that would be the Baron in Dune.
Right.
Capturing you and saying you're guilty.
Yeah.
And then cutting your head off.
And then popping one of his zits on you as you die.
As he floats into the sky and giggles.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this... And I guess that's the confusion with people like me paying attention who aren't particularly... or who regret not paying attention in school. Why can't... I guess the question is, like you said, why can't everybody just like, what the fuck?
The point is that the only reactionary branch of our government is the House of Representatives.
And they ain't doing that.
No. Well, and so, but because they're not doing it, that doesn't mean that every other branch needs to be reactionary. Now, the judicial system works on a system of time, and
Correct.
they are
speedy trial,
constitutionally obligated to do that. And then, but that's just the general civics part of this, is that government takes a long time.
Yeah, no, that's why there is a saying, red tape.
Right. There's a positive and a negative to that. If we had, there's a lot of things that we could have gotten done early, as well as continue to get done.
But it would have been a little shady rushing through it.
Right. But then as soon as parties transfer, which is weird because when the Constitution was written, there were no political parties. And even George Washington warned against that.
I knew that.
But it's as if they knew that was going to happen.
Well, but he knew, he was smart enough to know that not everybody's going to agree and everybody's going to be split down.
Or the people at the Constitutional Convention.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
George Washington was full of a bunch of high floating bullshit. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time.
Boys.
Well,
allegedly.
I'm not going to get into that. But it's that there's certain things that we could speed up, like the amendment process.
Wow,
but in terms of the day-to-day regulatory workings, that's why it's got to take time so that feelings can simmer and things can go the right way.
It is just black and white at that point. It's facts. Again, you take feelings out of it, and we get into a room where it's facts.
And if you're rational and understanding of that, that's how government should work. And then if you know that,
which is why
then you can understand why limp dicks
floor.
like McCarthy and Tupperville are doing the wrong thing, because instead of being a functioning government, they are a non-functioning government.
No, they're subverting everything.
Yeah.
That's why you debate.
And for
the merits of your argument, which is basically what you do in court.
Which is the problem where we're at right now, which is where you have people that are doing party over politics.
Exactly. Which is what this entire Congress has done.
Reagan and even Barry Goldwater would be looking at you going like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck are you doing?
And granted, too, I mean, you would have
a nugget of
JFK
something in.
And FDR might be looking at the Democrats going like, all right, just give a little bit. Right. But, at the same time, it's like...
And someone also has to be saying, to me, Democrats are the ultimate pacifists. Like, they just sit back. They're not pushing for anything.
You got to start fighting for
it. We'll let that karma and the justice system will take care of all of that alleged... No.
And not that we should let Joe Scarborough write our narrative, but it's that...
Right.
Again, it shouldn't be Biden, but other Democrats should be getting out there and, in constant speeches that get on every news network. Trump is is an accused racist.
No.
I'm sorry, convicted racist. The following Pulpery podcast is brought to you by The Goddamn Sauce. Go to thegdsauce.com for details to order all the sauces to replace your ordinary condiments. Pulper is a privately produced podcast by Brock Ryder and Ben Grimmie, on social media and photography by Beck Ryder, original music by the Heisenberg Compensators.